Let's go.
Yep. And yeah, welcome back to another episode of Primetime Live. As always, Shay here, joined by Jaden. Jaden, we are finally both back on campus. How's moving gone for you?
I got no complaints. Happy first day of classes to all that celebrate. One day closer to week one, which is and this is college football week. I mean, it's football games will be played, like legitimate games. This is what we've been waiting for. Like, I can't wait.
It's going to be fun. I mean, obviously, a couple weeks from now, we have that big week with the stacked football schedule. And obviously, that Sunday night game against Notre Dame. But before anything, we got to thank you, Falconer. As always, with the Super Stickers. And as always, we are the status on the helicopters. Now that we're back, we're back on the phones.
We can inquire. We will inquire.
We will inquire. We will ask about them. And we will get to the bottom of the situation. But we are proud to be back on campus, and we will soon be flying in helicopters. And Jaden, like I said, we're another week closer, and there's a lot to talk about. You felt very passionately about the recent FPI rankings, ESPN FPI rankings. So kind of just dive into it right there.
All right. So for all that do not know what I'm kind of talking about here, so last week the ESPN dropped their recent FPI rankings. They updated them. Because they had this new system, this new rules, requirements, whatever it may be, and they had it in June. Just 2 months ago. Nothing really changed over the last 2 months, but 2 months ago, Miami was 9th and Clemson was 11th. Fair, makes sense, whatever. As of today, with the new updated system, Miami's now 17th and Clemson 16th. So Miami dropped 8 spots from the FPI ranking, and Clemson dropped 5 spots. As well as that, Miami's CFP chances dropped from 46% to 36%, about a 10% decline, and Clemson with a 9% decline from 47% to 38%. Now, I wouldn't care if it wasn't so eye-opening that the guys that did rise, that took the precedent over Miami, was a bunch of SEC and Big Ten schools that didn't do anything over the last 2 months to be better than Miami. But to have a school like Tennessee move from 10 to 8, Ole Miss from 13th to 10th, South Carolina from 15th to 11th, UF, who we beat last year, from 18th to 13th, and USC from 19th to 14th. To me, it's a little crazy that this. Why did it happen? Why is this even a thing? And look, let's be real here. FPI is a terrible ranking system. No one cares about it. It shouldn't be talked about. But the committee uses them at times. They do use them when they talk about strength of schedule, and they talk about them when they show big games. ESPN uses them on their bottom ticker. So as much as it's not an important stat that people use, the committee does throw it in sometimes. They do add it to this level at times, and it can be a little scary for ACC and Big 12 schools and G5 schools that it's clear that they're trying to weigh strength of schedule or weigh these metrics to promote the SEC and the Big Ten, and it's this bias that as we keep seeing in the media, where it's that the Big Ten and SEC rule all, and the ACC and the Big 12 and everyone else are just like the scums. It's kind of demeaning. It's kind of it tells you where the committee, or where ESPN, or where whoever they believe, how they decide on this stuff of, the Big Ten and the SEC are the best of the best, and everyone else is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, completely agree with you there. We can go down this list. You don't get to a non Big Ten or SEC school right until you hit Clemson at 16.
Crazy.
Do we really think Clemson is worse than USC, than South Carolina, than Tennessee? Maybe fine if you want to say, or maybe or an Oregon or Ohio State, but significantly lower than Michigan, who's probably going to end up starting a true freshman at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we get ridiculous there. Yeah. I get if you want to underrate Miami, you think a lot of the changes are gonna make it a harder season for Miami. That's fine, but the way I think like a lot of these teams are significantly higher than I think their value should be. Like, what is Texas A&M doing at 9? No offense to them. But
what's Tennessee doing at 8?
exactly.
Who is their quarterback?
I think they announced it today, actually, but I forgot who it is. Like, it is wild to see. Like, screw it. Why not have Auburn up there at that point? Like, you have half the damn SEC in the top 15 over here. Like, I think it's wild. I think it's ridiculous. And like exactly like you said, it is crazy when you think about the fact that the CFP and the AP polls are going to look at this when they judge, how teams stack up, how teams wins and losses are going to be valued at. And like like I get it, the bottom of the ACC might not be as good as the bottom of the SEC, but to look at these teams and to just decide, you know what, we're gonna fill it up with SEC schools, especially when you look at, you think about what a team like Arizona State did against Texas last year, bringing it down to the wire in that game. The best team out of the SEC last year almost lost to, let's see where Arizona State is right now. They are 24th, and you have the first ranked team last year almost lost to what is considered the 24th ranked team. Get a different season. Cam Scatterbo had a phenomenal game in that one. But you just look at things like that in consider the drastic difference to fill up the top 15 spots with just 2 conferences, and Notre Dame is out of my mind.
What's worse is they might use this as their way of just promoting these conferences. Oh, we deserve these extra bids. We deserve the at-large bids. We deserve this. We deserve this. Because we have the best conferences. We have this. We've just established now that the SEC and the Big Ten are always going to be the best conferences, and that we can't do anything about it. I think it's comical at this point, and it's almost like ESPN's trying to get ahead of it, where they're like, oh, strength of schedule, all this, but now they can factor in FPI and be like, the start of the season FPI, the top 15 were all Big Ten and SEC schools. It can just continue to have these schools promote narratives as we go through the season, and the season hasn't even started yet. It's mind-blowing to me. I know it's like really at the end of the day something very stupid and like almost nothing, but it can lead to something. Like, it has the potential to lead to something if, say, Miami is being chosen versus, I don't know, LSU or South Carolina, and they look at, oh, what's the FPI saying? And Miami just lost to Pitt, while LSU lost to Arkansas. But Arkansas, oh, they just beat LSU. It's like it's a bad argument. And for them to have to use the FPI to try to promote something, it can be a little scary. Again, it's probably nothing, but I'm upset against it. I'm upset about it.
I think you're justified in that, and especially when talk is constantly going about the expansions of the playoffs, to add more teams, to add more competition to it. We know what they're going to do with it is the thing. Like, it's just, I mean, we'll get into the Big Ten's proposal and their previous proposals, but it's just to add more SEC schools, more ACC schools, and overall, that's eventually going to, we look at the long-term ramifications of it, is one big super conference. That's, and I don't think anybody wants college football to go that way. I don't think anybody wants college football to just be, one big conglomerate. I think the excitement and the fun thing about it is that you have so much representation from all around the country, different play styles, different people, different coaches, different varieties of players. And like, like I said, this in particular is a smaller thing, but it's part of a larger issue,
yes,
which is kind of this overvaluing of the SEC and Big Ten. Big Ten in a sense, where you're going to squeeze out. Where, like, if stuff like this negatively affects a team like Clemson or Miami or then, and it causes them to want to switch, between that and money causes them to want to switch conferences. They're going to lose. We already lost the Pac-12, and we might lose more as a result of stuff, not this specifically, but stuff like this.
Yeah, there's a real world within the next 10 years where the ACC does not exist anymore. There's a real possibility in that, and that maybe the best of the best in the ACC leave for the Big 12, or some of them, maybe FSU leaves for the Big 10, whatever it may be, and that that is, it's part of the problem that we're kind of seeing it kind of transpire right now. It's the little things, but the little things are starting to add up a little bit more to the point. I mean, we saw when, the committee was talking about schools to bring in, and they're like, I think a 3-loss Alabama team should get in, when we've never even in the history of the world ever in college football has ever said that a 3-loss team should ever make the playoffs. No, there's never been a word that's been uttered. But now, because of the SEC, it just means more. Conference of Champions, like it's killing. It's hurting the sport. It's hurting the sport. And what we're gonna talk about in a second, the expansion it's also killing the sport. It's probably doing even worse to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to definitely hurt things. And we kind of briefly touched upon it earlier, but you look at the proposals for the expansion of the playoffs, and like I mentioned earlier, it is just more and more of these, 2 major conferences, and then occasionally you sprinkle in some of these other ones between the ACC, Big 12, the Group of 5 schools that aren't, on the same level. And so, yeah, what are your takes on this most recent update on the Big Ten's proposal? It's not necessarily fully in place, but it's gaining a little bit of traction, which I think is.
1 second, Falconer. I do agree. You are right. The FSU doesn't have the academics, but within the next 10 years, there could be a world where the Big Ten laxes their requirements for what makes a team be able to join whatever, because of the way that college football has been handling things these days. You could make the argument that the Big Ten doesn't care about this kind of, I understand the AAU and what needs to be done, like for FSU, but there's ways that FSU can probably work around it if at least FSU join at the conference. But you are right. The 2018 proposal, which is just crazy. I think I mean, let's talk about it. It's the idea is to have the Big Ten and the SEC get 7 bids, ACC and Big 12 get 5 bids, and then G5 schools get 2 bids, and then the rest are at large. So, it's bad. It's terrible, because I believe if someone took what a bracket would look like in a 2018 model, and it would have 7-5 Michigan, who had one of their worst seasons in recent memory, make the playoffs. It would have Army make the playoffs. It would have it would not be good. It would be actually pretty terrible. And the guy proposing it, Tony Petitti of the Big Ten, he's pile driving the sport. He's taken away everything that the sport was built off of, and it's a disaster. I mean, he said this at Big Ten Media Days. He said 8-4 is a winning percentage. If you project that winning percentage in every other sport, I'm pretty sure they make the postseason. As right as he is, does not matter, because college football has always been built on 12 games, and it's been built on winning as many, like 10, 11, 12 games to make the playoffs. It has never been, I lose 4 games and I can now make the playoffs, when a third of your schedule is against, HBCU schools and G5 schools. That's not much of an accomplishment, at all, to say that at all. It's dumb to even reason with that logic. 8-4 means that I could be a playoff team. Nah, absolutely not. It's a dumb take. And honestly, what I think it means, I think what he's doing here, I think he's trying to get the whole world to say, that's crazy. That's an overreaction. Like, what are you doing? 28's crazy. And then he's gonna be like, you're right. What if I go down 20? Because that's what he's wanted all along. He's been proposing 20 for the last 3 years. He's wanted 20 forever. But he says, let's go 28. It's a hyperbole. He's like, all right, let's settle on 20. And he's going to get 20. It's dumb. It's a stupid proposal. It's a stupid idea.
Yeah, again, agree. And I think the underrated part about this whole process is that it expands the schedule, which potentially could eliminate conference championship games.
Yep.
And that is such a huge part of the college football season, having these conference championship games that mean so much to these individual programs for their, for the conference. And, there's so many historical games that happen in these conference championship games that I think you would lose so much of the heart of college football just by losing those games. And to what I was talking about earlier about they want to just be one big super conference. It eliminates the individuality of each of these conferences and each of these teams having their own rivalries and history within their own conferences. that you know that you would lose when you expand the playoffs. And I get it, you do have the one fun benefit of it would add more home games, and I think they should try and I would like to find like a balance where you try and find a way to have these college football games, more of them at home, because I think the environment of a playoff game where a team has a home field advantage is just sick and it's fun. And where we didn't necessarily get we saw it a little bit with the first round of playoff games, but it's games that were blowouts, so it's not, you don't really feel the impact necessarily. But overall, like regardless of that, I think you like eliminating conference championship games, making the season, making it so that an 8-4 team, a 7-5, like you said, mentioned 7-5 Michigan could hypothetically get in based off of that. Like just eliminating the importance of the regular season in college football, where I think one of the best things about college football is that every game is supposed to matter. And I get having the playoff, you want to include more teams, and I get having a 1 or 2 loss team, not be cooked on their season just because they lost a random, like imagine like Notre Dame was, out of the year because they lost to NIU at the start of the season. I get not having that necessarily, but to make it so that a 4, a 5 loss team can make the college football playoff just because of the conference they're in, I mean, once again, you look at the teams, the conferences talking about this. The main call between Greg Sankey and Petiti, SEC and the Big Ten. So you know the driving forces behind these, and the responses between these smaller conferences. When the 16 team proposal came out, where it was, I think it was 4-4-2-2-1-3. Mm-hmm. That method of deciding it was similarly. Big Ten and ACC obviously are like, why do you get to have 4 teams each? Yeah. So that I don't want to see college football expand the playoff to that large. And I think 20 is even a bit of a stretch to go there. I think fine if you want to get it up to 16. I think 16 might be like the breaking point where it's like a regular playoff scenario. 16 team come in, 1 team comes out. Fine. You want to have a 16 team bracket? Go for it. But I think expanding it too far could be really bad for the college football system.
I mean, I've always thought 8 was probably the best, but 16. Here's the problem: you say 16, they say, "How about 32?" And then how about 64? And then we're gonna get the March Madness college football, and it's like, all right, what are we doing now? Like there won't stop at anything to get money, and it's mm-hmm. Of course the calls coming from the House. It's the SEC, it's the Big Ten. It's those 2 conferences again. And come on, we're looking at this and we're like, oh yeah, let the Big Ten get 7 teams. That implies that Maryland at a 7-6 season where they're matched up, where their toughest opponent's Indiana, has a potential chance of making the playoff. Mm-hmm. What are we doing here? It takes, and also you mentioned a great point on the conference champions. In the G5 and even in the Big 4, the G5, winning a conference is huge. It's massive to these schools. It's massive for their brand. It's massive for who they are as a program. The college football is not usually about the end result. It's about the journey. And when you win a lot of like really great games, like when you win your rivalry games and when you win your conference, those are like the highlight moments of your season. And you're trying to take that, you're trying to diminish it, you're trying to take it away from us. That kills the sport. It defies everything what the sport was built off of, the pageantry, everything about it. You're killing it. It's suicide almost to the sport, but they're doing it for more money, and they understand the way that this works. You schedule 8 more playoff games. Oh, you get more home crowds. Great. This is they're trying to find ways to just get more money. It's a business at the end of the day. And like I get it, but it's bad. It's bad for the sport.
Yeah. I mean, where you can keep going on this all day for the entire day. But, the consensus on it, I think everybody who's not a Maryland fan or a
no dissent,
Arkansas fan. No problem for you guys. Sorry, no mean to offend, but everybody who's not a fan of these teams are struggling a little bit more in these bigger conferences, and you feel like, hey, if I was in the Big 12, I would come home with 8 to 10 wins in a season. Like, no offense to you guys, but I think it'd be a disservice to college football to let teams with 4 losses, with consistently 3 losses, because that's what you would get, and then potentially 4 losses into the college football playoff every single year. That would just be insane to me.
But like in a bad and there, because there's down years in conferences. There's always down years within conferences where like a lot of these, like there's so much parity that they're just, they're all beating each other. In that world, in that case, there's a world where you're looking at the SEC and like, all right, now we have to let 7 teams in when like the number 7 team has no business being there. That's kind of, I mean, that's part of the problem. And then obviously the other problem is they shouldn't even be expanding in the first place, because I did like 12. I thought 12 was good. I think I enjoyed 12. Would have preferred 8, but you can tell that they're going to continue to expand. They're going to continue to do this over and over and over again, and we can't really do anything about it. Can't really do it.
Can't really do much. I got Greg. Just like we have the phones ready for the helicopters, I got Greg Sankey on speed dial.
Yeah, Tony Pettetti.
Yeah. You gotta slow down. Don't worry. We're gonna work the phones just like we do for the helicopters.
Yes,
and you can see equal amount of progress. Before we keep on going, I want to thank Falcon again for another 305, and he's reminding us of an absolute classic. Notre Dame 2017 was amazing. Correct.
And wear orange next Sunday.
Wear orange. Orange. It's an orange out. Just know that. Get out there. Be loud if you can go.
Yeah. Let's get that same crowd from 2017. Yeah. If we can pack the crowd from 2017, like, again, both of us we haven't been Canes fans the longest time. Every time we hear people talk about the glory days of Miami football, they talk about 2017 against Notre Dame as one of the best moments in Hurricane history. A repeat of that, not this Sunday, next Sunday on Labor Day weekend at Hard Rock Stadium. Please, let's do that. Let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Iconic moment. I think we'll both definitely be there.
Absolutely.
Enjoying the time, because it is going to be an electric crowd, an electric time. And I think, in terms of our short experience here, you think about the crowd at that FSU game last year, where I know Miami doesn't pack the rock every game, but when it's important games like that, important rivalry games, important season games, you think it's a season opener in prime time.
Nope.
It's the start of the season. This team was really good last year. You think you can compete again this year, and I think that crowd will be absolutely rocking. I don't know if we'll reach 2017 levels. You got to win to reach those levels, but it should be extremely fun to be at.
I'll say this: if we win and they give us game day against UF, and that game's a night game as well, and we do the same thing, that crowd will be even better than that Notre Dame game. It'll be the exact same thing.
Keep on top.
That Notre Dame game was college game day. This really the last time Miami got a true college game day experience. Just saying, UF week 4. Do it again, ESPN.
Yep, ESPN.
Yeah.
Once again, get them online. I'm going to the top of Disney. I'm blanking on the CEO's name right now, but we're going to the top there. Yeah. But we're going to continue talking about Miami being snubbed a little bit. We're going to talk about some All-Americans. And the AP preseason All-Americans came out, and Miami only had one. For those of you who could probably guess, it is CeCe Mauigoa. So no representation from this defense, no representation from this really good offensive line. But you got to shout out CeCe. He's a phenomenal player, kind of, again, standing, putting his mark out there as a guy who's definitely going to go somewhere really high in this next draft class. Jaden, what were your takeaways? Just kind of looking at where, Miami's acknowledgement, but also kind of the full thing.
Well, I mean, you look at it. Look, it's pretty. I will say, I would imagine there's some snubs that I can't really think of at the moment. I do love that CeCe made it. Shout out him. But I am looking at it, and I probably, I mean, the first thing you can look at, it catches your eye, is Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame, that we play in a couple weeks. He's an incredible player that we will be watching for, and as well as that on the defensive side of the ball, Leonard Moore from Notre Dame, the cornerback. It's another great player right there. So just looking at that, that's two guys, probably two of really the only guys that I'm really looking at besides Jake Slaughter from Florida that Miami is scheduled to play this season. So you look at three guys in the first team, all American preseason at least, and you're like, okay, Notre Dame's tough, and we're knowing that they're tough. They're respected. They have that kind of hype around them, and Miami's just got to play an incredible game. That's the kind of the way I keep looking at it. Is like, all right, it kind of reinforces that idea that look, as much as we keep saying that we have this belief that Notre Dame's going to win, we're going to beat Notre Dame. We have to also give Notre Dame its props that they got some dogs over there, including, in my opinion, probably. I mean, not in my opinion, widely, he's the best running back in the country, Jeremiah Love.
Mhm.
And then you have to contain them. That the defense has to contain them. That they have to play their best game of football. I know in Corey Heatherman's first game that he's got to play his best brand of football against the best running back in the country, but he's got to do it. He's got to do it.
Yeah, and especially when we'll get more into their QB battle, but you think this team is going to be a lot more one-dimensional to start off the season, not officially knowing what their QB situation looks like. Jeremiah Love is going to be the focal point of what Mike is going to try and stop. Notre Dame as well has a pretty good offensive line, and you look at those two things and you know where this game is going to be fought. It's going to be fought in the trenches. It's going to be fought fighting for every single yard, and it's going to be on Corey Heatherman and this defense to play physical, fast, and with their hair on fire. And Jeremiah Love is the sign is what's gonna win. You know, if Miami cannot lose this game with Jeremiah Love going off, that's like the one thing you want. Like, you know, if this passing offense figures itself out in week one, you'll live with it. But if you get beat by the best guy on the field consistently rolling you when you had an entire offseason to prepare for him, then not the best way to start the season. Quick note on Leonard Moore. Probably want to avoid targeting him, Carson Beck, on the first week. But you know, we'll get to some camp updates more earlier, but mine will have a bunch of guys that throw Leonard Moore to see if they can create some separation consistently, do something on him. But yeah, that is Clemson as well. For those interested, Clemson comes in with 5. We talked about when we ranked the quarterbacks in the ACC and the team Miami would play. Cade Klubnik coming in at first team preseason All-American. Not much else considerably. Antonio Williams, another guy on the second team. TJ Parker off the edge. Peter Woods, defensive tackle, also made the first team. Blake Miller, Antonio Williams, and TJ Parker, second team guys. So if Miami has to play those in the conference, just a few guys to keep an eye out for. Not that this is likely, but Duke has cornerback Chandler Rivers also sneak in onto there.
Yeah, another reason why I was so upset about the ESPN FPI thing when Clemson is currently the 16th in FPI, when I know for a damn fact that Clemson's a top 10 team. Look, ACC does have to stick together at some points, and these are the kind of moments where you do. Clemson's a top 10 team easily, like without a doubt. They're a top 10 team. You can say whatever you want about Miami. Clemson's top 10 team without a shadow of a doubt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're established, by Dabo Sweeney's, every single effort. They have refused to use the transfer portal, and good on them because they've built a really good roster of homegrown talent, people consistently coming back. And the fact, 5 preseason All-Americans, and you have them 16th below. I mean, we could look at it again. Let's pick a team. Yeah, A&M, the USC, Michigan. We can get into it.
Tennessee's 24th, I think. That's
and also let me just QB.
It's baffling. I mean, look, I don't want to get off track.
Joey Aguilar, by the way, is their starting QB now. Just for those interested. It's a whole mess of what they're doing with FPI, and we don't have to get back into it. But what we can get into are some more camp updates. Miami's very secretive about what they do in camp. To the media and the fans, the negative, but also positive to them. Everything's pretty much for the most part kept under wraps. But recently, a couple of very interesting articles coming out from the Miami Herald. This first one here with Jordan McPherson. I want to just make sure I credit these people just so we know what they're talking. We know they have their thing going on. Oh, let's not. I'm not picking anything out of that. But okay, God, click off the ads. Anyways, this recent article from Jordan McPherson came out yesterday detailing a bunch of new updates recently between Miami, their different position battles, the QB situation, and within it, there was another really good article I read kind of talking about is Emory in this photo? He might be in this photo. But one of those things I want to just take away is backup quarterback and Emory Williams. A really good article I read from Barry Jackson down there it was a really good tell-all thing about how Emory's really worked to improve. And I know we've talked about him a lot in a negative sense. I just wanted to shine some things on there on him in his off-season improving so far. But yeah, let me fix that. Pretty much to summarize the first little bit about that, Shannon Dawson is very confident that this QB room is really good. I think the quote came out the other week that he thinks potentially Miami repeating in terms of number one overall picks, potentially with Carson Beck. We'll see if he's able to put those results out there. But in terms of Emory Williams, the Harold Jackson article was the Barry Jackson article from the Herald. Emory really worked this offseason to improve his mechanics, get a lot better, got in the gym. I think he said he's up to 223, I think up 10 pounds, get faster, quicken his mechanics, everything kind of improving. And I just want to say shout out to him because it sounded like he really used the motivation from the Pop-Tart Bowl loss and how the team and how, his numbers weren't great. The team didn't really let him throw. And he's really using that to kind of prove himself, rework a lot of things with himself and kind of get better coming into the season as the Canes backup quarterback. And there's a bunch of other things to look at in that article, but just want to toss it back over to you, Jaden.
Yeah. I know I've been kind of one of the anti-Emory guys as of late, but I do want to say that I'm assuming this is all very true. Barry Jackson's great at his job. If Emory does ball out, I hope Emory is balling out of fall camp. That's really all you want. You're rooting for him entirely. He's a great guy. I know that if he does become the backup QB2 and he's solidified in that spot and he really is kind of taking that next step, that's great. That's great for Miami because in the event that Beck, goes down, or something of that nature, it could be a concern. But I'm really hoping that Emory, I believe that Emory can then step up and fill in that role effectively. And I'm really hoping for the best for the kid.
Yeah, 100%. You hope for a guy, especially when, you want to keep homegrown talent and you want guys to succeed. Definitely hoping Miami can get the best out of him in whatever context they can this year. And then next year, you're like, if he works for it and he's ready for it, starting job. 100%.
I appreciate that credibility that he takes as well. That the Pop-Tart. You can look at the Pop-Tart Bowl. It was objectively a bad game. I think anyone can look at it from that. But for him to kind of own up to it and see it as a wake-up call, it's a very positive sign that he is aware of what he has to do to be better. And that's a positive step. It's a positive sign.
And I think it's another good testament to the culture where you have even the quarterbacks are constantly looking to see how I can get better, how I can improve myself. And it's more. Come and get humbled, and you be humble, leave your ego at the door, and come in and work. And I think that's part of a really good thing Chris Paul's helped create is this really solid culture of guys who are always coming into work, working hard. Ruben Bain was another guy I mentioned throughout the article. He looks healthy. He's constantly working. He's taking the mental reps when he can, learning how he can get better. He's consistently winning his matchups when he is, but when he doesn't and when there's something you need to improve, another guy who's constantly working to get better. And it's a good sign of, early things to come, greatness, the potentially see out of Miami here and now in the future. And last thing I wanted to mention is from that article was the receiver battle potentially. It could be a lot of a rotation of guys more than what Miami had last year was a solid. It was the four receivers and then Arroyo. And I think it could be a lot more of a rotation this year of guys between the young freshmen, between the sophomores that are and Ray Joseph, between the senior transfers, a good mix of all of them to, we talked about these defensive line and this running back group being rotations of guys to keep guys fresh, but this receiver group could also be a mix and match, figure out what combinations work type of thing. Could also just be, smoke and mirrors where they're like, we won't tell you which guys to plan for. But it's exciting. It's exciting if you're interested in these freshmen recruits that Miami brought in. There's been a lot of hype about Josh Moore, a lot of hype about Malachi Tony, a lot of hype about Dalen Upshaw, and you look and you see those guys could potentially have roles. You see, obviously, JoJo Trader is the big name that everybody wants to see take off this year. A guy like maybe Nye Carr can step into a rotation. Maybe, if Ray is the slot guy working in between him and Tony Johnson, that could be something to look forward to. There's a lot of things to look at this receiver group, and it looks like Shannon Dawson, maybe it's smoke and mirrors, but maybe he's going to kind of use the strengths and weaknesses of everybody and, really creative offensive mind, worked with a variety of weapons last year, could do something even more dramatic this year.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Malachi Tony and Joshua Moore. I've heard just from a couple people that have watched a lot of fall camp stuff that they do really like what they're watching from Malachi Tony and Joshua Moore, to the point where you could maybe even see them getting some starting reps right away. That's a really good sign. From what you look at Malachi Tony, he's a big dude. He kind of fits that Restrepo build. You could kind of see him. I don't know if he will take over that slot role day one, but I wouldn't say it'd be a total surprise to me. But he's huge. He's a big guy, and we've mentioned this a lot of times that Shannon Dawson loves the slot guy. So if he really likes what Malachi Tony's doing, he's going to be playing that slot because that's one of his favorite positions, favorite spots. Mm-hmm. I would just probably look into. I'm not saying that Malachi Tony gets that start right away, but I know a lot of people. I'm not saying people within them. I'm sure people within the Miami building love Malachi Tony. I'm not saying they do or no. I'm not. But I do know that among the people that have watched fall camp and with the very little, at least that we've seen, that Malachi Tony and Joshua Moore have had great camps, and they're going to be very, very, very good players for a long time in Miami for their 2 or 3 years or 3 or 4 years there.
Yeah. And you hope a guy can get reps and get in games as soon as possible, because you don't learn, there's the old saying, you don't learn by sitting on the bench. You learn by playing action, being in games and being involved, the more than anything. And if Miami can really work these guys in and still be effective as an offense, it'd be really, really fun to see a big receiver group with a bunch of guys getting touches and getting involved. And it's also exciting as a Miami fan to see the future of this program, the future of this receiver group isn't hinged on 1 year of 3 seniors, taking most of the reps. Like it kind of was last year, aside for Restrepo, where, you had 3 different was it 3 or 2? Sam Brown. I guess it wasn't as big of a deal last year, but if Miami can get the young guys involved this year, it'd be really fun to see and really fun, exciting for the future of this program.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, did I have anything else out there? Couple of the notes, like I said, Ruben Bain looks healthy, looks active. Kind of mentioned some preseason All-Americans. You could probably look at that list as a little bit of a snub if you're Ruben Bain. And Heatherman, praised how he's constantly working on his technique, is constantly trying to perfect his pad level, things like that keep himself at the top of his game. Should be exciting to see Ruben Bain back healthy and back active. And then last thing to kind of note, offensive line group, from the reading it seems to be pretty set. Going left to right, you got Markel Bell, Matt McCoy, James Brockermeyer, Inez Cooper, and CeCe Maui-Noah. So that's probably your offensive line group. Should be really good again. We saw from what we saw with Markel Bell in his starting time. We know what CeCe is. We know what Inez. We know that right side of the line is going to be good, really good. James Brockermeyer, only new addition, really solid at TCU, should be pretty good at UM. And then Matt McCoy kind of getting a bigger role this year. Only guy without the full amount of experience as some of the other guys, but he should be solid.
Yeah, and you also have Samson Akunlola and Ryan Rodriguez as well to back up. So you do have some depth there as well. It's a group that we keep harping on it. We think is one of the best in college football. We do know that they will be playing alongside another very good offensive line in Notre Dame. So it's going to be fun to watch 2 elite O-lines work. It's awesome when you have an O-line that you just know is going to be incredible. And you really are relying on them If you are expecting Miami to be a run-heavy team this year, with Fletch and Jordan Lyle and Pringle and all those guys,
Mm.
you know that they're gonna run the ball a lot. And those O linemen, one thing they love running the ball. They love getting in those trenches. They love playing the ball. They love it. They love it. They love it. So I'm excited to see that the O line, what they do week one. See, I'm gonna expect a lot of run. I want to see how well they play.
Yeah. Just to bring a quote from kind of out of nowhere, but the one Dallas guy who got drafted this year who's like, when we watch them run, I love seeing the life drain from their eyes, and that's like honestly, that's the mentality you want your offensive line to have
Absolutely.
as a team, and it's like I want to see this team kind of leave guys defeated on the field because they remind me just pounding the rock, and there's nothing you can do to stop it because these guys are bullying people. And from everything we think of this group, what everything I think a lot of people think of this group, it should be like that. This should be a really solid, dominant offensive line. And if this team starts out working through the ground, I want to see Fletch and Lyle and Marty Brown and anybody else in that running back group, constantly being untouched for big gains, bowling people over, and making guys regret that they are playing Miami. And I think that's what everybody should want. And maybe not expect, but that this is what you should look forward to from this offensive line group this season.
Yeah, I was watching some of the SEC show on Netflix, and they were with Arkansas after Arkansas beat Tennessee, and they were one of the biggest concerns was about their O-line entering that game, and their coach told them after they got that 1-point lead, but their quarterback got hurt. They told them, "Hey, let's just go run the damn ball." And watching those O linemen, they got so excited when they knew they were going to run that ball, and that was the reason why they won that game. Because I mean, look, it's a common thing in college football when they talk about it. Run the damn ball, and that O linemen love it when they run the ball. So I'm excited. I'm just excited to watch the big boys play.
Yeah, I want to see pancakes. I want to see pancakes,
Yes.
and then I expect to see some pancakes on that field. And flipping, I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but flipping it over to the other side of who Miami's playing in just a short bit of time. A little bit of preview on Notre Dame, what to expect from them coming up soon. Do you want to start with this QB battle, or you kind of had a lot prepared on the full outlook of the team?
Let's do the QB. I mean, the QB battles. It's the number one question out of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like, look, I would like to believe that Marcus Freeman knows who the starting quarterback is. I would like to believe that, but we don't know who that is. The media doesn't know who it is. So there's a lot going on there, and you know a little bit of what that debate's going on, right?
Yeah, I kind of looked into both QBs between Kenny Minchie and CJ Carr. It seems very much a stalemate, and I don't know necessarily for the best of reasons. It seems like both QBs are just okay. They flashed a little bit. I know CJ Carr had a really good spring game, but now we're in the fall, and from what I'm reading, it's more like the defense is winning most of these days, but the QBs are being consistent, being effective, and nothing too flashy. And what I really want to say is, I know everything says it should be CJ Carr, but not that this is like really hidden, but I think Minchie fits better for what Notre Dame wants to do. You look at what they did last year, and they're bringing back their two leading running backs between Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. You look at what Riley Leonard did for them. He had 184 carries, 906 yards, 17 TDs. And I think from what in this receiving core, it lost Bo Collins. I know it brought on a transfer from Virginia. Yeah, they like some of their guys. Jaden Greathouse, I think, is one of the names to keep an eye on, remind me to play against. But I don't know. I haven't been around Notre Dame. I haven't been around their camp, so I can't necessarily say. But just in my head, to do more of what they want to do and more of what this team really wants to do, especially in a week one setting with Miami, where we also think Miami's going to also be pounding the rock. A game of ball control with a mobile QB who can kind of, between design runs, stepping up and scrambling. I think Minchie has a little bit more of those tools to be a part of a run-centric offense than you see out of CJ Carr, who's more of a stand-up prototypical pocket passer. So that, like, I don't know. I know everything says CJ Carr. CJ Carr should be the starter. CJ Carr was expected to be the starter. But before the guy who transferred to Syracuse left,
Steve Angeli,
Steve
yes.
Angeli, it was a battle between Angeli and Carr, who were both more pocket passers. But since this has seemed to be such a stalemate, that I think like I know I should. It should. I feel like it should be Minchie. It's just something to me tells me like it should be Minchie if he fits more with their style. Go with the guy and go with the guy who maybe they bring up for some certain packages, maybe, but like maybe that should be the way they go. But yeah, it's just
Yeah. Well, I guess one thing you can kind of say is that knowing that these two guys are, the fact that this is still even a debate as we are 13 days from week one or from the game, and we also know that that they are still splitting reps. As much as you want to say it's a smokescreen, at this point in time, we're getting closer and closer to game time. They got to announce who that QB1 is so that they don't, we're done splitting this. They're done splitting reps. It's you would imagine then that neither one of them has necessarily stood out. That neither one of them has necessarily like taken over as like that's the quarterback that we want. So I mean, if you want to look at it from Miami's perspective, that's a great sign. No matter what these two dudes, one or the other, is entering into hostile environment, and their coaching staff, in all honestly, technically hasn't really trusted either one of them because they haven't even picked the quarterback yet. So if you haven't even given that kind of trust and all that, it can probably kill that confidence, and I imagine it won't help your confidence when you pull up into Hard Rock at 7:30 to a crowd of Miami fans. Like that's not going to be easy for them. So I probably I don't know. I have no idea what they're gonna do. I don't know what's happening in South Bend right now. It's a hostile environment in Miami, and whoever they pick has to be prepared for it.
yeah, and it just kind of we've talked about it a little bit, but neither QB has starting experience. Neither QB has gone, on the road into a hostile environment and experienced what it's like to play in a hostile crowd. For those of y'all who play the NCAA 2025 or 26, stadium pressure is going to be at a 10 in Hard Rock in that first game. And so neither of them knows fully what that feels like. They've both taken snaps in tiny spurts, but neither of them in a real live game on the line. You're playing in primetime setting. And so I think the longer Notre Dame is delaying this decision, maybe it is just smoke and mirrors again. Maybe they're not actually splitting reps. Maybe it's going to Carr. Maybe it's going to Minchie more than it's being let on. But I don't know. I think if you're Notre Dame, the saying, if you have more than one quarterback, you have no quarterback.
Yep.
So if this is what it's going to look like, and they still haven't announced one, and it's truly still a battle, and not just blowing smoke to kind of keep Miami off guard, then it's a good sign for Miami. It's a good sign for Miami, and it's a little worrying sign if you are a fan of Notre Dame, getting ready for this, getting ready to go into Miami.
Yeah, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. That's so you're even seeing that in the NFL right now with the Indianapolis Colts and the Saints and the Browns, whatever.
I still believe in Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, the great quarterback the battle between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, or in New Orleans, Jake Haener,
Spencer Rattler. Fun. And even
forget about Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. And Jake Haener was throwing a rugby ball on the sidelines yesterday.
I saw that. It was so stupid. They're like he's getting ready to play for the CFL. Sorry, Jake Haener fans. Sorry, Jake Haener, if you see this. No offense to you. Just thought it was funny. Yeah, but if that's true about Notre Dame, that there really isn't any standout yet, and this defense is, it should be a pretty good Notre Dame defense. Not to say it's any easy task to kind of go up against this defense, But if that's the truth, and neither QB is standing out, and neither QB has really entrenched himself as a starter, then it should be good things for Miami.
Yeah,
should be good things for a Miami defense that is also expected to be a lot better.
Yes. I will say, as we'll probably kind of segue into this, about Notre Dame's offense and what they're going to bring week one. Obviously, their quarterback decision is huge because it's the most important position on the field, and it's harder to win games when you have a terrible quarterback on the field. But his surrounding group, whether it be Minchie or Carr, is going to be very solid, and we have to kind of give credit where credit is due. Again, we've mentioned Jeremiah Love and also the running back group. The running back group is, it's nothing short of scary. Jeremiah Love, 1,125 yards, 19 touchdowns, average almost 7 yards a carry. His biggest moment, that 98-yard touchdown run against Indiana in the college football playoff. And then Jadarian Price, who had 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's scary. It's a great running back group. It's a probably, you could argue, the best in the country. I probably would agree with you. And they do have a very good offensive line, of veteran experience in their offensive line. All their 5 guys have 52 career starts and over 2,700 combined snaps over the course of last year. So they're veteran. They have that kind of experience, and they're named to they're named to the watch list. Is at least a couple of them are. You have their best ones, junior left guard Billy Schroth, who is named to the Lombard and the Outland Trophy watch list, and then was a Joe Moore Award semifinalist his freshman year, and then Ashton Craig, who the center who got hurt last season, but is projected as one of the best offensive linemen in the country at center. And then you have their tackles, and Antoine Knapp, who played 15 games last year before getting hurt at left tackle. And then the right tackle, Amal Wagner, who is on the preseason All-American second team, according to Athlon Sports, and then is also on the Outland Trophy watch list. So they have a good group of offensive linemen. Notre Dame fans will say it's a better O-line than Miami. I disagree because I don't watch Notre Dame offensive line play. But I do think that they're good enough. They're a very good O-line, probably a top one in the nation. Are they better than Miami? I probably would say no. But they're great. And when you compare that with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, their rushing attack will also be equally as scary. And for Miami's defense, it tells you we need to limit Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price. We need to limit that rushing attack to under 150 yards. And it has to be in spurts. It can't be Jeremiah Love runs for 70-yard touchdown, and then it needs to be okay. Jeremiah Love gets a 7-yard carry, then a 2-yard carry, and then incomplete, and then Miami gets a turn. They force a punt, like something like that. It can't be what Jeremiah Love did against Indiana was scary. What he did kind of flipped the game on its head, and it was one of their main reasons why they won that game. So you are looking at that running back group and their offensive line. You're saying you have to give credit where credit's due. It's very good, and you have to be prepared if you're Miami and Corey Heatherman.
100%. And you think about another play, that kind of one against Penn State where he is bouncing off of guys, not refusing to be dragged down. You have Abdul Carter, number 3 overall pick, also unable to drag him down. That is a guy you need to gang tackle him, get him down as a group, fly to the football. And if you get that, then I agree. Notre Dame should sound scared when you're going to leave it up to one of these 2 QBs to kind of do it all. And it starts by taking care of that run game between both him and Jadarian Price and whoever they're able to kind of bring through that backfield, which was really, really good last year. Like both running backs averaging over 6 yards per carry is a scary sight to see if you're a defense. And so that has to be where Miami refuses to let things go against Notre Dame. They cannot let this offensive line churn yards against them. Consistently get 4 and 5 yard carries, 6 yard carries against them. And another potential thing is that these running backs, it will kind of change depending on if this team is Minchie or if it's CJ Carr, because we know if Minchie's in the game, it could potentially open up more of that option run, QB runs, where it has another blocker in for the QB to go and run on the run play, for that QB to go out and run and hit the hole. It's another lead blocker for him in the backfield. So if Minchie is on the field and he is their starting QB, that could be another dynamic, and it could also be just a lesser part of their game if it's CJ Carr out there and they're not necessarily going to do those types of things with CJ Carr. So another wrinkle to this game that could depend on the QB situation.
Yeah, and they're led by second-year offense coordinator Mike Denbrock. His second stint at Notre Dame, spent his last couple of years as the OC for Cincinnati and LSU. And in terms of the, that his throwing group of whoever Carr or Minshew will be throwing to, mentioned him earlier, Jaden Greathouse, who had 6 catches for 128 yards in the overall in the CFP. He was a fantastic player for them, especially in that game against Penn State. I know he had a couple really great catches in the Orange Bowl. His season last year had 42 catches, 592 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's a big body. He's a tall receiver. He's going to make some great catches no matter who's at quarterback. And we saw that last year with Leonard. You also have Malachi Fields, the senior transfer from Virginia. He had a great season with the Cavaliers last year. 55 catches, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. Another good player. And then you got Will Pauling from senior transfer. Spent 2 years ago was in Cincy. Last year at Wisconsin. Had 42 catches, 407 yards, 3 touchdowns. So that's another layer of what Notre Dame has to offer. It's a fine receiving group. Obviously, the quarterback, whoever is there, is going to have the weapons necessarily, but it's up to the quarterbacks to then make the throws. And he'll also have tight end Eli Raridon. He last season he had 16 catches, 141 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But doing a little research, Mike Denbrock called him, I believe, a couple weeks ago, he called him the next member of Notre Dame's elite tight end group. It is true that Notre Dame has produced a lot of good tight ends over the last several years, and it's a very high honor, I guess, for Raridan. It's another guy to look out for, at least. Not necessarily I'm concerned about him, but he's always could be a guy like what's his name? The guy who was like baby Gronk a few years back for Notre Dame against FSU and teams like that.
Gotcha. I'm blanking on names too right now.
I can't think of his name. I think his last name was Meyer, but he was is Max Meyer, right?
Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great for Notre Dame. And my guess is Denbrock is trying to compare him to one of those guys. So it's just something to look out for in terms of what Notre Dame has to offer. But at the end of the day, the quarterback situation is really the main thing. We're going to keep harping on it because it's of all the things you're looking at with Notre Dame, because they are a college football contender. They are a playoff contender. They are a championship contender. They're a very good team. But their quarterback can hinder anyone's season. I mean, any team, even in the NFL, as a Jets fan, 2022 season, the Jets were, in my opinion, had one of the best defenses in the league, and they had a good receiving group. But they had Zach Wilson at quarterback. And that led to a 7-10 season, and then it forced the Jets to then trade for Aaron Rodgers, and then it killed their season even more. So Notre Dame might be in that same boat where they're like, like if they don't have a quarterback, it can easily kill their season. Like you don't have a quarterback, you're going to turn into Army. You're just going to run the ball every play. I mean, I could see it, but
500 carries for Jeremiah Love.
It's going to turn into an Army-Navy game for Notre Dame. It's a concern. Not having a potential quarterback is a concern. And when we're this late into the season or getting close to the season, and they don't know who the quarterback is, Alabama just announced theirs, Tennessee announced theirs. What's going on in South Bend?
And I think an interesting kind of trend to look at is, I could just be waffling here off the top of my head, but you look at a lot of these contenders, and it is kind of homegrown quarterbacks who are kind of starting. Whereas like last year, you had Will Howard versus Riley Leonard, two guys who transferred in, but Ohio State going with the true freshman Julian Sayin. Obviously, Texas, they're going with Arch Manning. Bama, I think, is going to Ty Simpson, I think is the belief there. I'm going to keep listing names.
Penn State still is Drew Aller.
Notre Dame is now going with their younger guys who they believe is proven.
Cade Klubnik at Clemson.
Cade Klubnik, obviously, with Clemson.
Lenore Sellers at South Carolina.
Keep on listing names for me.
Lagway at Florida. I would say that's true. The best quarterbacks in the nation this season are all they have stayed with their team for the most of it. I would probably say the only guy that didn't is John Mateer, and that's Oklahoma. So yeah, it's definitely a really interesting point. I didn't really think of that. It's definitely something to look into.
Yeah, definitely something to kind of looking at. You hope Miami, whether it's Emory, whether it's Luke Nickel, that's something they can be added to the conversation in coming years. But yeah, just honestly, just something popped in my head, and I'm like, you look at last year, the top QBs were many of them transfers, not necessarily guys homegrown. Now you look at them this year, and now it's a lot of homegrown guys who kind of committed, were developed a little bit, and are staying and getting opportunities now. So something to look at, whether it's a trend in college football or whether it's going to be an on and off thing year by year. Who knows?
Yeah, honestly, it's probably a year by year of like kind of deciding how, just how it goes and whatnot. I mean, it's definitely something that could be. I mean, yeah, you're right. Look at last season's draft. It was Cam Ward, you had Shadur, you have Dylan Gabriel. Those are three guys right away that all were transfers at one point in their career. I believe Will Howard was.
Yeah, Will Howard was at
Kansas State.
Kansas
and
State, yeah.
Even Syracuse.
Other way, Ohio State to Syracuse.
Yes, I can't think of his name right now.
Wow, he's on Philly. Kyle McCord.
Yes, Kyle McCord. Yeah. So so those are all transfers last year and this year. We have a lot of younger guys, and you are right. I mean, like the best ones in the nation right now, even Garrett Nussmeier. They're all really talented players. I imagine the Heisman Trophy winner this year is going to be, he's going to spend at least his first few years at that one school. So it's definitely something to look at.
Yeah. But yeah, that is all. I think that's all for today. We appreciate you all coming out. It was really fun. 2 more weeks. We got 2 more. One more show until Notre Dame.
13 days. 13
days until Notre Dame. It's going to be exciting. Get hyped, and if you can be there, pack the rock. It needs to be filled with orange. Also, orange. See that color back there? That's orange. That's the type of orange you should be wearing in that stadium. Should be a sea of orange when we get to Notre Dame in just a little over a couple weeks.
Next week, when we will be back next week, football would have been played. College football would have been played. It's great that we're back. It's great that we're back.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be so exciting. Well, not only between the game that we're going to see, but also that entire weekend filled with stacked matchups to kind of test out this ESPN FPI that we talked about earlier. See how true it is. See how these teams stack up. Get a little early glimpse, and just assume we're going to see what Carson Beck looks like. And it's going to be so exciting. So I can't wait for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before we go, as usual, as what's going to be the trend, we're going to have a little message from the people, the higher ups. Voices College Football.
Yes, we will see you guys next week. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.